All right, let's call our meeting to order. We're going to start tonight's meeting with the invocation from Elder Ethel Skipper, the pastor of the Skipper Temple Church of Christ in Sopchoppy. All stand.
Dear Heavenly Father, Lord God, we do thank you tonight. We thank you for this opportunity that we could come together. And we thank you for the many blessings that you have bestowed upon us. Brought us into another new year, and tonight we thank you. Lord, we ask you to look on our county tonight. We ask you to bless this county. This is a blessed county, and we ask you, oh God, to just to bless it to more. Ask you to look on our officials, our public officials that we have in our county. And here tonight, we ask you, oh God, to bless each one of them. Give them the knowledge to lead your people, Lord. In everything they do, let them acknowledge you. And we do thank you, and we give you the name to praise. We ask you, oh God, to lead us through this year. We know that with you, all things are possible. And we realize without you, we can do not anything. We know that many times that we try to lead the people, and we don't understand, and there are many problems that need to be solved. And we realize without your help and your guidance, Lord, that we cannot do it. And we ask you to bless each one that's here tonight. We ask you, oh God, to bless them and watch over us this year and take us through and let us have a blessed year. And these blessings we do ask in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, in Jesus' name. And we do say amen. Thank you.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any changes to tonight's agenda?
I'd like to pull item 13 of the consent agenda.
Okay. Any other changes?
I'd like to add 2 items. We'll open the item for discussion.
Any additional changes? Entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Passes. Moving on to the public hearing. Heather?
One second. Sorry, trying to work with my left hand. This item is a request board approval to conduct a public hearing and adopt a proposed resolution of intent to use the uniform method of collection for non-ad valorem assessments to fund fire, EMS, solid waste, stormwater, road maintenance and improvements, clean energy and wind-resistant improvements, and other neighborhood improvements, facilities, and associated services. Commissioners, this is purely a procedural step that's required under 197-3632 of Florida statutes. In the event that you elect later to use the tax bill to collect any of these assessments, it is not a binding step. It merely preserves your right.
Make the motion to approve to the public hearing and adopt the resolution of intent to use the uniform method of collection for assessments to fire, emergency medical service, solid waste, stormwater, road maintenance improvements, clean energy and wind resistance improvements, and other neighborhood improvement facilities and associated services.
Second.
Are there any citizens? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Moving on to awards and presentations, we have an announcement from Mr. Bob Danzy.
Well, Happy New Year. I hope everybody had nice holidays, and I did as well. So what I want to do is invite anybody to be willing to come and listen to us discuss this. It's public records. If you want ever are in need of some of the county's records, then we're going to be talking about how you get them. And so if that would interest anybody, then we would certainly hope that they would come out and sit in with our meeting. It's going to be tomorrow, or Wednesday, January the 11th, at 2 p.m. It's in the Commissioners Administration Conference Room, which is over in the building where the Commissioner's offices is. And you can ask the person up front where we're at, and we'll get you a chair, and you can sit in and tell us what you think, maybe. Thank you, and I'll see y'all hopefully tomorrow.
Good presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Arts, you have an announcement?
I would like to invite Jeannie Broadhead to make the announcement. Jeannie is the president of the Iris Garden Club, and she and I coordinate what will now be our 8th annual Arbor Day celebration. So, Jeannie, tell us what's planned.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jeannie Broadhead, and I'm here representing the Iris Garden Club of Wakulla County. I would like to invite all of you to 2 upcoming events. One is our annual Arbor Day celebration that will take place in Hudson Park in Crawfordville on Saturday, January 21st, from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. Everyone who attends and signs in will be able to choose a young native tree to take home for their yard. All right, I brought some of the trees with me. This is a river birch. When we bought these a year ago, they were about the size of a yellow straw. And in 1 year in good soil, this is how they've grown. And this is not the biggest one. This is a red oak, a southern red oak. This is the fall color you still see in the forest. The turkey oaks, which we're also giving away, and red oaks hold on to their fall color. And this is a pignut hickory. This little guy might be 100 feet tall and a really nice shade tree. It's deciduous, but it's got nice healthy buds. It'll be blossoming out in the spring. So everybody, from stroller size to grandmas and great grandmas, everybody that signs in gets a free tree. Let me see. The celebration will also include vendors of nature-oriented products, a drawing for a large Shumard oak donated by Purple Martin Nursery, a bake sale, and another drawing for a large tree for people who bring gallon size, that's this size pot, or larger, and I forgot to bring a larger one. You'll get tickets, and then they'll have a drawing for whoever wins will get to take home another big tree. I'm not sure of the species of that.
It's a swamp willow.
Oh, it's a swamp willow?
Not a weeping willow, but a swamp willow.
Okay, good. Let's see. Beginning at 12, you can also make a donation and take home extra trees if you want to, but we only give them away for those first 2 hours. If you come after 12, you still get a free one. You can just get additional ones for a donation. And all money that the Iris Garden Club collects that day go toward this and future Arbor Day celebrations. And also next Tuesday, we're having a preview meeting, so you can meet all of the trees. We'll have one of each there. We'll have big color pictures of them. We'll have a fact sheet telling about all of the different trees that the Garden Club will be giving out. And that'll be at 1 o'clock at the county library in the big meeting room. We hope to see a good crowd on both days. The preview meeting is next Tuesday at 1, and then Arbor Day is the Saturday, January 21st at Hudson Park. Anything else?
I just want people to know that there are some posters out in the lobby and on the table there next to the officer. Take one, post it up at work, or pass it on to some other people who may not be aware of the event.
Thank you.
There will be over 1,000 trees, so we aren't going to run out.
And we've already picked up the ones that will be pottying up soon for Arbor Day 2013. And they're all natives.
Thank you. An important announcement for those people watching our meeting at home. Our meeting will be changing from the current channel 209 on Comcast cable to being played on channel 210. And the bounce will be added to channel... Oh, sorry. So I'm going to read this as it's written. Notify the citizens that Comcast that the WTLX weather channel currently on channel 209 will be moving to channel 210, and that WTXL bounce will be added to channel 209. It's not about our meetings. It's about the weather channel. We'll be changing channels, but we were asked to announce that, and I wanted to update you. Not sure. Is there a representative here from Workforce Plus?
Kim's running late.
All right, we will give Kim Moore the opportunity to speak later just to update us all on her issue. Moving on into the consent agenda,
Motion to approve consent agenda?
minus item 13.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right. Passes unanimously. Item 13.
Good. Okay, do we need to acknowledge or mention that 10 is revised over what was published, I think, on the website
It was handed out.
to us? Right. But if anybody checked the website, what we just approved is different than they would have seen.
I can certainly discuss that. And the resolution in item 10, which was for the airport committee, the names did not change, but the pursuant to previous board direction, you had said that the county staff appointee should serve the 1-year term. And in the version that went out with the agenda, that had been flipped, and they were getting a 4-year term, so that correction has been made, and that was what was passed out to you and what was approved.
Excellent.
Thank you.
What I wanted to, on item 13, I just talked to Harry Reid with the CRTPA on our minutes from the workshop November 10th. In the last meeting we had, which has been some time ago, I mentioned trying to maybe do some landscaping along 319 instead of just having concrete islands and striping, and he had suggested maybe we could add it to this list of projects, and he thought maybe he could get something done with it, possibly while they're resurfacing the road out there. So that was simply mine, is to add to this list landscaping along 319, especially in Crawfordville, but anywhere if appropriate.
And I appreciate you pulling this item because I was going to pull it also. I thought it was very nice to for DOT, I guess, to have typed this up. And there were just a couple things that I didn't see on here that I wanted to add that we had discussed. And one of those was we listed 4 intersections that we're talking about having 4 lanes, I believe, from both directions. No? Okay. We were going to make improvements to 4 intersections. And I thought by adding turn lanes, we were going to, it would in essence be 4 lanes on each of the 4 points coming into the intersection.
That's yet to be determined. Now, if we did put in a left turn lane and you've got that, they can make 3 lanes coming out of the intersection as it is. But no, all we're talking about is you want intersection improvements at those locations.
Okay.
That's yet to be studied and determined as to what would actually be needed. And of course, all that would be brought back to you all for review prior to anything ever moving forward.
Okay, because during the workshop I had requested, if possible, to keep at the intersection right out near the courthouse here, 319 would be widened, but to try not to, or to minimize the widening along Aaron and Martin Luther King because of the courthouse and some of the old buildings around that intersection. So
you're talking about the widening of 319, then, right? Is that correct? You don't want to widen 319?
No.
Ms. Archer, I think all your concerns would be addressed. This may not happen 10 years from now, but I understand what you're saying.
Well, it was just during the workshop I had specifically requested that when we study this intersection that we be sensitive to the older buildings and try to make maybe this cross section may not need to be widened as much as in other places. So that was one of the things. Also, then when we had talked about the one-way pairs, which I think is a great idea, and Randy had brought a map. This says starting at the intersection of Myrtle, and I think Randy's map had it starting way up north of Walgreen, but it could certainly start just south of CVS or so, Myrtle's pretty southern to start it, is my suggestion. So just look at how far north you could start that.
I agree with that.
Okay, and
I think
then,
the point was, the DOT map I produced had it on Myrtle. I think
Right.
right-of-way acquisition was the big,
Yeah, that would be the thing, but certainly as part of an evaluation of looking at that, that's one of the considerations that would go into, where do you start that if that's something you want to proceed.
We had talked
So
about that was our first phase as well, as from Myrtle this way.
Right.
The second phase was going to be up to behind CVS because of the right-of-way acquisition.
I don't want to beat this to death, but I did drive down the road we talked about, and it does dead into a church, so that may be a problem.
That's a problem too.
right, but I think that's a really exciting thing to explore. I just didn't want us necessarily to have Myrtle be one end point to it.
No, we can certainly go back and adjust that for the
Okay.
evaluation part.
And then I thought Commissioner Moore had talked about the alignment of Ivan Church and Trice Lane, which wasn't on here.
Yes, ma'am, I think it's the last item there. Isn't it?
Oh, I'm sorry, it is. Okay, and then I thought Commissioner Brock had talked about something with extending Trice Lane.
As a possibility, I've mentioned it many times in the past, that trying to, in the same way having a road on the west side of Crawford Highway, having a road on the east side of Crawford Highway.
And then I had also mentioned the intersection of Spring Hill Road and 319, which I know was redesigned, but I think it's dangerous to be coming down and have first one sharp curve in one direction, another sharp curve, and then a dead end on Bloxham Cutoff. To me, it's, if you aren't familiar with it and don't know to reduce your speed,
That's on Bloxham Cutoff.
coming down Spring
Spring Hill Road, isn't that going to run into Old Shell Point Road?
No.
No,
Spring,
Spring-
she's talking about Spring Hill at
not
Bloxham.
Spring
It's not
Creek.
even on 319. But
Oh, okay.
319.
if you're coming down Spring Hill heading south from Tallahassee near the airport, the last stretch of that has, two opposite angled curves and then a quick dead end.
That's a county road. Spring Hill is.
I don't
We,
know.
in
but
fact,
that-
we did that improvement on the
Oh, okay.
CTSP several years ago.
So is that why it got off the list?
People got killed there because the way it used to be is people they wouldn't stop, they just merged. So we realigned it to where they would have to stop, just like was done here at
No, I know, but
Local area.
needs to be straightened out. Okay, well, if that's not on your list, then that's my error.
Well, I'll certainly go back and look at it to see where it is, because as I spoke to you the last time, we're looking at Spring Hill, or Spring Hill,
Creek.
Spring Creek.
Spring Hill.
I'm talking about Spring Hill.
Okay, I've got confused. Spring Creek was the one that goes into Old Shell Point Road, right?
Right.
Okay, all right.
Right. But anyway, I thought you did a good summary, but those were a few things that I knew we had talked about that I didn't see on here.
No, this helps us very much in working with the DOT and setting the priorities, to be able to do it, and then we can come back to you periodically and let you know where these things stand and how they're progressing.
I'll make a motion to ratify the discussion from the Miller Intent Workshop at CRTPA and approve the proposed guide, prioritize the discussion with the addition of Ms. Arch to discuss minus Spring Hill Road, which is a county road.
Okay.
And
Well, Bloxham's a state road.
Bloxham's a state road.
Yeah,
but
so
Spring-
there's a possibility of, as part of that,
Okay.
we've taken a look at it, so I'll certainly bring it up
I'm
to them.
all
We're
for
not
that.
gonna-
Never mind. I'll leave that in. And my big priority, of course, is while they're while they're resurfacing 319 to try to get some landscape islands in where there would normally just be concrete or striping.
Right, we can certainly look at, have them look at that and see what we can do about this.
And we maybe could get somebody like ROTC or something like that to
Yeah, well,
help maintain them or something like that. I'm sure many people would help volunteer to maintain them.
Yes, and then that resolution you have regarding Trice Road is something that we can bring in with the same thing.
And if they say that we can't do it because we don't have irrigation, tell them we'll plant native plants that don't need irrigation. I think some plant would be better than just
Yeah,
concrete.
yeah.
I agree.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. I want to congratulate Pat Juarez on our consent agenda. He has been named the new administrator of the Wakulla County Health Department. So well done, Sir Pat. I know you did. On your... All right, moving forward to our planning and zoning items. Number 16.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Number 16. The item number 16 is application for site plan SP 11-13. This is the addition at Ivan Church. Ivan Church is the owner. DEC Engineering is agent. And this property is located at 202 Ivan Church Road, which is just west of Crawfordville Highway. There is shown on the map, and the property contains 4.18 acres. The Planning Commission considered this application at their meeting on December 12th and did vote to recommend approval unanimously.
I'll make a motion to conduct the final public hearing and approve the application for site plan SP 1113 based upon the recommendations of the Planning Commission and find that facts including the law made by the board and evidence submitted at the hearing hereon, and accept the staff report in the motion.
Second.
Okay, Commissioners, first, if in accordance with Section 24.01 of the Code, each Commissioner member needs to disclose any contact they may have received from interested parties or the applicant concerning this application or any personal investigation or knowledge that's being relied upon.
I went to the site, and I also met with staff to discuss.
I have none.
Thank you. If there's anyone that's going to testify on this matter, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Is there anyone from the church here?
The pastor's here.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I don't think
I don't think we have any questions
I do.
Oh.
Do you?
Right, but first I wanted to...
Wait, let's swear the
Pastor, you need to be sworn in then if you're going to speak.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
First, Melissa, did you have any other things that you wanted to hit on from your staff report?
Well, the entire staff report is included with the motion, so that does cover the highlights there. The property is for a classroom addition. It's going to be 4,830 square feet that they'll be adding in, and the site plan has been found to be consistent with all the requirements.
Okay. May I invite the two pastors up? Excuse me, I don't mean to be stepping on your toes.
Could a representative from the church come up?
I'm pretty sure one of them's not a pastor.
Oh, okay.
No, I am the pastor, and this is one that's Bill Douglas, taking care of all of our technical stuff.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming this evening, and it's wonderful that you're building an education center. You have a nice property and complex of buildings and quite a bit of land, so I know you're proud of that.
Yes.
I asked the staff whether there were any tree and landscape kind of requirements, and she said no, that the size of your changes do not trigger that. But in going out to the site, I noticed that there is very, very little shade on buildings or children's playground. And so it's entirely optional because it's not something that our code requires. But having looked at the site, I think a few strategically planted trees could help to shade your buildings, reduce your air conditioning costs, make the rooms more comfortable in the warmer weather, and especially for the children's playground. I know there's an overhead line, so you'd have to be careful where you put a tree, but the American Association of Pediatrics recommends shade for children's playgrounds. And you can see my face. This is what happens when you don't have enough shade as a child. So Anyway, you just heard the announcement about Arbor Day, and we are giving away some nice, they're still small, but they're shade trees for free. And if you, some of your church members, want to come pick some up for free, or I'll even come plant them for you if you want. I just
I was impressed with the one that grew from here to there.
The river birch.
I was impressed. I was paying attention.
Yeah. Now that won't give you as much of a canopy as like the red oak or the hickories. But anyway, I'm going to support this, but I'm just putting in a little plug to put some trees for, if you put them on the south or west, that'll give you good summer shade. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Any further discussion or questions?
Is this the Bill Douglas behind Lowe's? Your office behind Lowe's?
Yes, it is.
I know you, Mr. Douglas. How are you doing?
Doing fine, thanks, sir.
Any additional questions or comments? All right, thank you, gentlemen. Any further discussion from the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is Kim Moore with Workforce Plus has arrived. Would you like to try and have her announcement now?
Yes.
All right. If you would mind coming up, we'll set up your presentation. It'll take just a couple seconds. Thank you for coming down today.
As we prepare to get everything downloaded and ready for a presentation.
We have passed the letter already.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, excellent.
So.
Even better, okay. The presentation, again, my name is Kimberly Moore, Chief Executive Officer of Workforce Plus, and I wanted to share with you a couple of pieces of legislation that specifically speak to the Workforce Accountability Act and honestly generated out of some legislative representatives out of Orlando. And let's see where we are on the presentation so that you'll have the background piece. Yes, it's Workforce Accountability Act. Very bottom, third, like next one, very bottom.
One more.
Right. And I actually have control of it now, so thank you. Giving you some background information relative to why I'm here tonight and certainly why you've had the opportunity to vote on and looks like and move it forward. There's the history that supports the Workforce Board and the system that we have in place. It was generated back in 1998, honestly, that speaks to the workforce system, and there were a few key points. The key points were that it should be a business-driven model by the local people in each of these communities. Florida took on I call it an even more progressive stance under former Governor Jeb Bush, where he looked at privatizing the entire system back in 2000 under the Workforce Innovation Act. Hence the reason why our system now is truly driven by business leaders among our community, and there are 24 workforce boards across the state of Florida versus the former Department of Labor agency that some of you may recall. Because of that aggressive stance that we've taken to make sure that the business voice is heard, Florida is actually recognized as one of the top workforce and training programs in the United States. Additionally, the whole impetus behind the change, and again, so that it's put in proper context, there were some isolated incidents among the 24 workforce boards across the state, 4 to be exact. I've included them on the slide, and in specific, there were concerns related to conflicts of interest, which we all know can arrive in some situations, unreasonable food and beverage expenses, and questionable expenditures. Because of that, the legislature took up in 2010 2 pieces of language that, one, dealt with those 2 issues, food and beverage expenses, as well as conflicts of interest. So there are laws now that specifically govern those individuals who serve on these boards of directors, and that, honestly, if you're planning on doing business with the workforce board, you cannot serve. So those pieces are there that provide some level of protection. The stated objective behind the 2 pieces of language that we asked for the resolution on tonight is primarily to look at accountability, transparency, and restoration of credibility. I won't spend a whole lot of time because I've actually had the pleasure of speaking with our commissioners on the two, actually the House bill at that time 7023, and again they've introduced the companion bill of 1389. Won't spend a whole lot of time on those specifics because I've shared those, but in general we are in agreement with the key points of what it speaks to in terms of local voice, local control. The local commission right now, and what your key role is, just making sure that the plan is reviewed annually, and also that we ratify the board appointments. And you will see those come before you very often with making sure that those selections are made. Those are the functions that you've maintained over the last 10 years. The points of agreement, again, being accountability and transparency, that's not a question. We all agree that that is paramount in any system, that you must be accountable and it must be a transparent system where there are federal funds, taxpayer dollars being put forward. In terms of what we've done through the collaboration and under this interlocal agreement that's been in place with your body since 2001. Right now, your workforce board, and I call it your workforce board because truly we are reporting to the people. Workforce Plus has been recognized as a top performing workforce board in the state relative to people getting jobs, program design, as well as innovation. We received numerous local business and community awards. We have a history of receiving national awards, two of which I'll mention to you. That's our Veteran Award, which is key right now for those vets that are returning back to the state of Florida looking for work. We were one out of 35 in the nation to receive a recognized grant. Additionally, we've just received funding that for a project in Gadsden County that looks at-risk youth, one of 31 in the nation. Again, a track record that speaks. In terms of being fiscally sound, right now we're on our third year of zero findings, zero observations, financial, both state monitoring as well as internal monitoring. And again, I think that speaks for itself in terms of the internal controls that are in place. Strong governance, your appointments, the people that you actually appoint. We have a 96% attendance rate for those private sector members in terms of their involvement, their engagement with this workforce board. One of the things that I was going to bring to your attention, and unfortunately the weather beat me to it in terms of being here first, the key questions that I was going to put before you was, one, are the issues isolated? And what, from my analysis and my review, the issues are isolated to those 4 Central Florida communities. Additionally, what is the root of the problem? Well, I would say that it's the communication, the collaboration, but we have that here. The other piece is, will the proposed bill or legislative action resolve the perceived problem? It won't. It won't. We all know that with any system there will be problems, and if there are problems, then you have to get to the root of them. The other piece is, should the local voice continue to be the driver for local solutions? Yes. Who is the best advocate for local issues? We know that to be true, the local people down there making local decisions. When we talk about maintaining that local voice, who's joined in that effort that y'all have already committed to tonight? Brevard has already completed their resolution. Broward County, Hillsborough, Volusia County, Flagler, DeSoto, Madison County, Jackson County, Hardy, Highland. And I think it's going to be fairly evident by the time we get through with this in the month of January that you'll have 67 counties and communities on board saying that local voices count, and yes, private sector voices, the business community should be the one guiding in terms of creating jobs. The resolutions for the 2 remaining counties that fall under Workforce Plus, and that's Gadsden and Leon, those resolutions will be presented on the 17th of this month as well as the 24th. In terms of closing comments, and again, I wanted to be brief, the fact is that when we diminish local control, it will adversely impact the local community that we're tasked with serving. So the one question that I was going to pose to you all tonight, but it looks like y'all have answered the call, is where will you stand? But you all have already stood, and we certainly appreciate the support that you all have provided and will continue to provide to our system. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Kim. You do such a good job for our community.
Keep us posted and let us know if there's anything else we can do to help.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Coming back to planning and zoning items, we're going to look at item number 17, Heron Creek.
All right. Again, if this is the point in the meeting where if you have had any ex parte communications from the applicant or any lobbyists about this specific matter, you need to disclose those.
I have looked at the site. I've talked to staff, planning staff. I've also talked to our public works employees, and I've communicated with a number of citizens who are either knowledgeable or concerned about karst features, springs protection, those kind of things. And I have some email communications.
Jessica can take Commissioner Art's, just make sure it gets into the record, her email correspondence on this issue. Commissioner Moore, did you have any to disclose? Commissioner Brock?
A representative of the bank who said hi to us tonight. I spoke with staff.
Commissioner Merritt?
Saying hi, no.
That doesn't count. Commissioner Stewart?
None.
Abundance of caution.
Thank you. Is anyone who is going to testify or provide any information about this can stand and raise your hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You're good. You don't have to.
Make him take it twice.
Okay. This application for short form final plat is SF09-02. The owner is Capital City Bank. Cliff Lamb has acted as the agent, and Ron Mowry has come on to assist with that as well. And this property contains 156.79 acres. And as it shows on the map there, this is located on the east side of Spring Creek Highway, north of Shadeville Road, and to the south of Wakulla Aaron Road. And this property had gone through a land use change a while back, and they had actually noted a special area plan for this property. And it requires in general that buffers and conservation easements be utilized around karst features and to protect the Wakulla Springs cave system, and also to protect the state park which abuts the property. And it also requires that informational kiosks be constructed along a naturally vegetated greenway that will run over the top of where the groundwater cave system runs underneath through the property. A bond has been posted for those informational kiosks to be later constructed. And in addition, the bond will cover costs to improve Casaw Road, which runs through part of the property. And through this application and negotiation process, Casaw Road will be improved and then dedicated to the county. Homes within the proposed subdivision will be serviced by performance-based septic tanks and private wells. The lots are at 10 acres minimum. Some of them are larger. So this is a large lot subdivision. There are 13 of them. The plat has been found to be consistent with both the comprehensive plan and the land development code. Advertisement for this hearing ran in the Wakulla News on November 24th, 2011, and the recommendation for this item is approval.
I can make a motion to conduct the final public hearing and approve the application for short form final plat SF09-02, accepting the bond, accepting the Casaw Road right-of-way upon completion of the bonded improvements, based upon the recommendation of staff and the findings of fact and conclusion of law made by the board and evidence submitted at the hearing hereon.
Second for discussion.
It's okay.
Okay.
Comments from our board?
I wanted to ask one thing real quick. I guess Brent or whoever, on the road, is the road going to be stabilized or simply cleared and graded?
As of right now, I believe it's going to be cleared, graded, and stabilized with some gravel as needed.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure that was in there, that we didn't inherit a... Right. I know it's much better than what we got now, right, but I don't want to inherit a sand pile either.
No, they're going to fix it up.
First, I wanted to ask Melissa, is this in the Wakulla Springs Protection Zone?
I believe so. I apologize. I did not bring a copy of that map with me, but it certainly overlies part of the cave system, and it is connected.
And that boundary keeps moving south. So we know this is very environmentally sensitive land, and that pretty much anything that goes into the ground here is going straight to Wakulla Springs. And I'm glad, the size of the lots is good. I'm glad to see that. My personal preference probably would have been for a PUD, maybe with a little more clustering and keeping residences even further away from the karst features, but there's good protection for them as is. I guess the main concern that I still have is with regard to the performance-based septic systems, treatment systems. And I'd like Brent to talk because there's a considerable cost with putting in 13 performance-based septic systems, which are not going to give you as much nitrogen reduction as sewer would, for example. And I just was interested in looking at the possibility of putting sewer in instead. And so I talked to our public works people to get an idea of how that might be done and what it might cost.
Yeah, they ran two 2-inch force mains to collected the lots. You're looking at about $21,000 roughly. Individual on the lots, your performance-based, not your performance system, but your kettle tanks and everything, about $3,200 per lot, and then the piping on each lot would vary, but it's probably going to be about $3,000 for the piping, internal piping on the lots, because they're so large.
You're going to have to do that one more time.
Okay.
Slowly.
If the mains that they would have to run would be about $21,000 total.
21,000 for 2-inch lines?
It's about 6,000 feet because it's so large.
That sounds very cheap to me.
Now that takes it out to the sewer?
That would take it to the 4-inch line of Wakulla Aaron Road.
Okay.
And we'd have to do two, because I don't think we put the pipes across these greenways. We'd have to run down Spring Creek Highway and down Cassaw Road.
So instead of doing the performance-based septic tanks for $23,000, there could be run a...
Yeah, the sewer could be made available for all these lots.
Yeah. Now, these gentlemen are going to be developing. You're not going to be the builders in that case. Yeah.
So the difference for the developer would be another $2,100 to run the sewer lines down the two roads, and then the rest of it would be the homeowners?
It'd be $21,000, about $1,500 a lot additional if the developer chose to do that.
Right.
And then everything else would fall on the homeowners as they purchase the lots.
Right, which is what basically the performance-based systems would fall on the homeowners.
Yes, that's correct.
And those are probably running $7,000 to $10,000, whatever.
$7,000 low end. If they're going to be mounted, I think it's going to be significantly higher.
Okay, so actually then, and the cost for the homeowners, if the developer runs the two sewer lines...
would be the 1.25-inch piping from their tanks, which is, depending on the length of the line, you're looking at about $325 a foot installed, and then your little grinder station is about $3,200.
And the access charge.
Right, it's $38.50 access fee.
Well, but there's a maintenance contract with the performance-based systems.
Right.
You have to pay every year and whatever, So actually, if I'm trying to do the math as best I can, and I know we don't know the exact distances that the houses would be from the road, but it sounds like the cost would be probably no higher than, and probably lower for each homeowner to be put on sewer.
Right.
And that the main difference is whether the developer would pay the $21,000 to run the two sewer lines.
That's correct. And like I said, this is a very rough budget. I don't have an actual plan, so the distances are estimated.
Well, and this is, I just, for $21,000 to run two sewer lines and not charge homeowners any more, maybe even charge them less. I mean, the price of the homes wouldn't be higher, so it wouldn't affect the marketability of that. Given where this property is, and I would like to see it on sewer. If there's any way that I can convince you or whatever to agree to do that, that's what I'd like to do.
Would you like the applicant to come forward and talk?
Sure.
Yeah. Mr. Mallory?
I am Ron Mallory. I'm here on behalf of Cap City Bank, along with Mr. William Green. William Smith, I'm sorry. This has been around for a year trying to get this resolved. The bank, 2 years, well, the bank, I've been involved for a year. The bank didn't buy this property to come out or develop it. The bank owns the property because of a default. The bank has gone through a short form subdivision. They've looked at different ways to do this. It started out as a much smaller lot subdivision, but when the bank took it, they cut it back to every lot is in excess of 10 acres. You probably got a handful of those in the entire county. You performance-based, you voted for those, you adopted them because they work. It's an economic decision. The bank's made a decision. They've already lost all the money they can lose. To go in and put another $21,000 plus maybe engineering costs and other costs, and then still going to have costs to run the line by homeowners who knows how far back on that 10 acres, and then the connection charge on top of that. End of the day, it may not be any cheaper at all. But more importantly, we've dedicated a significant part of the property as a conservation easement, and we're in a written agreement with the Conservancy, and we're paying them to maintain it. And they get so much per lot every time we sell one. In addition, we've agreed to take the road. The county needs that road improved to get down to the church. So even over the county road, the banks voluntarily agreed to come in and post a bond to improve that road. And we're putting in 3 kiosks on top of that. We're paying for those. And the roads will be improved in accordance with the standards set by the Public Works. I'd suggest to you that this is a development that complies with the short form subdivision code. We posted a bond. The conservation easement took a long time to resolve. We bent over backwards and gave up on every issue the county requested. We have a title opinion. We have the homeowners in place. We suggest with that and everything else we've done is before you for approval. And those performance-based septic tanks are in your code because they were the best thing going. And it may well be that it's almost as cheap to put in sewer, but we're here tonight advancing what we believe is our best plan. It's been approved by your staff. We've discussed everything you can imagine. We're protecting the springs. We've got this conservation easement to stay away from those areas. We ask you to approve it as filed. Thank you.
Ms. Hartz?
And I certainly appreciate the bank's position, and I understand that you're losing money with these properties, and it's you want to minimize any further investments that you make into it. I appreciate that, but it's also our responsibility to look at the entire interests of the county. Wakulla Springs is one of our major tourist destinations. It brings in millions of dollars every year in terms of tourist revenue, and it's degraded. It has too much nitrogen. And City of Tallahassee is paying millions to upgrade their their wastewater treatment plant to try and reduce the nitrogen. But it's going to take more than that. We're going to have to, as a county, and Leon County as well, come to grips with how we reduce pollution from septic systems. And the performance-based, even though we have an ordinance, we've also seen the results of those studies, and maybe if you get 50% reduction, that's not it's not going to get us to where we need to be as a region to be putting in numerous performance-based septic tanks. We're going to have to put sewer in some critical areas, and I think this is a critical area, and I don't think $21,000 is all that much to make sure you're putting in zero nitrogen from human waste. I think it's the right thing to do. I think it's the right thing to do for the county, for the protection of Wakulla Springs. And I could see if we were talking about $500,000 or whatever, you could just laugh at me. But $21,000, I think that's ballpark reasonable.
I'd agree it's ballpark. Unless somebody will certify us tonight, that's all it's going to cost. We don't believe that. It's going to cost more than that. We've looked at it as an option. The point is, performance-based works. May not be the best in town, but it's the best we have. It is permitted under your code. It is in the law. You have a couple options, fine, but they work, and they're on 10-acre tracts. We cut it back from half-acre to 10-acre tracts. We can't make many more compromises. We'd ask you to approve it as applied for. It complies with every element of your code for approval, every one.
Can I ask a question of Melissa real quick? Sure. I noticed in your picture here, it looks like that was a field at one time, correct?
Yes, that is.
Could someone go in there, for example, and plant hay in and fertilize the heck out of it?
They could.
Fertilizer? And they could have cows on it?
They could right now. It's
poop
zoned
on the
out.
ground?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
I understand. But nitrogen comes in lots of different forms.
100 cows are in.
I understand your point.
Commissioner Moore, did you want to address Mr. Mallory? Okay.
I have a question. You said that, and I'd like to hear from the banker, actually, but I know you're his advocate, but you said unless somebody could guarantee it, would you be open to tabling this and getting hard numbers and taking it back to...
Commissioner Arts, this file's been open there for over almost 2 years. This could have come up in the last 2 years. We need to move on with this out of all due respect. We've complied with the law. It could have been suggested a year and a half ago. We might have looked into it. But it's time to move on, and we want you to vote this and approve it, please. We've complied with what the law requires us to do in every aspect.
Could we hear from citizens?
I have a comment before.
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to ask Melissa, the way it's platted right now and been approved, how many houses if they move forward maximum density?
With the proposed plat is 13 homes.
But with the way it's approved right now, if we don't make any changes.
The
allowable density is...
The allowable density under the land use, it actually allows 156 homes at maximum if central water and sewer were provided and through possibly a PUD, but...
So we're moving from maximum density of 156 houses to maximum density of 13.
That's correct.
Which is what, to me, is one of the things, is what I like best about this.
Yes, sir.
I think that helps protect that area. I think it provides over 10-acre lots, which will allow for a different type of house, because there aren't very many 10-acre lots in Wakulla. And I think some of them, not all of them, will still have the ability near the roads to connect to sewer if they chose over performance-based. Even if they're on the road?
Sewer runs down Wakulla here.
You maybe have two that could connect that.
What is your square foot? What is your square footage on your restrictions? Do you have restrictions?
Minimum size of houses? I don't...
Could you please come to the mic if you're going to... I apologize.
Perfectly wise coming up. I agree, Ms. Arts, sewer would be the absolute best solution, but I'm happy with what's being presented now compared to what it could be, which is either ag or high density. That's my position. I agree with you.
Our minimum square footage is 1,000 square feet.
Okay, thank you.
Homes only, I see.
Yes, sir.
Actually, moving on, if there are any other comments, we'll move on to citizens. We have one citizen to be heard, Mr. Chuck Hess.
Chuck Hess, 112 Lake Ellen Circle. It's, compared to what was going to be there, I agree it is an improvement for this area. That a lower density would be much better. And Mr. Merritt, your comment about the field being fertilized, I think if you're going 10-acre plots, one of the things we might need to address in the future is what those people can do on that plot, because a lot of those people that are buying 10-acre plots are going to have horses and fertilizer and that type of thing, so that might be a thing to address. My real reason for coming up is the short form subdivisions. I think Planning Commission would like to see these and know what's going through, and because of its short form, the Planning Commission never sees this, and I think that needs to be improved. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other additional comments from commissioners?
Yeah, I'll just say, I guess, for me, it comes down to, it comes down to valuing the community, the county, protecting our precious resources. I had an 8-acre lot. I now have 60 acres. I put a performance-based septic system on that, even though that's all on, 60 acres. There's no other. But, and at the time I put that in, it cost me over $15,000. So I was willing to do it because everybody is contributing to the problem. Everybody needs to do as much as they can to help solve the problem. For me, paying $21,000 to run sewer lines on either side and get 13 houses off of performance-based systems in this very sensitive location, it's the right thing to do. So I'm going to withdraw my second because unless it's either tabled to do more research or a commitment to go with the sewer, I'm not going to support it.
Okay, thank you. Is there another second?
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? Any further discussion from staff? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Passes 4-1. Moving on to agenda item number 18, Purified Bay.
Right. This is the last planning and zoning item for this evening, and this is a request for the board to direct staff to advertise an application for a change of zoning on a piece of county-owned property at the very end of Purify Bay Road.
I'd like to make a motion to direct staff to advertise the application for change of zoning and send certified mail notices to the adjoining property owners. I think that's pretty much a no-brainer.
Second. This is a housekeeping issue, isn't it, more or less?
That is correct.
Okay, but I've had citizens contact me because they're concerned about rezoning in Purified Bay. If anybody's watching who's I respectfully request that we allow staff to explain the item so that even though you know what it says and you think it's a no-brainer, that the public has a chance to know what it is we're approving.
I think
so I will second it, but then I would like to ask staff to go through the rest of their report.
It's already been seconded. Staff, could you brief us of reports?
It was noted during a report last year that there was a housekeeping item with this issue. Essentially, the problem is the property is, for the most part, zoned P2, which is what the state had wanted to see as a part of the agreement for them to give us the money to purchase this property. But there are a few remaining pockets of agricultural zoning on there that they would like to see changed to the P2 zoning district so that it is consistently zoned under the preservation. And essentially, we just wanted to make sure that the board was in agreement with this. We want to make sure that all of the requirements of the grant award agreement are being met, and so we'd like to move this forward to advertise. There is an approximate advertisement fee of $210 that will be charged in association with advertising the application. There are only 2 adjoining property owners that will have to be notified, so the approximate cost for that notification will be $10. So thankfully the cost for this is relatively minimal.
Thank you. Are there additional comments from the board? I have a quick comment. Most of the land around this piece of property is wildlife refuge, Is it possible, and I don't know, as we bring it back, one of the things I'd like for us to consider, see if we can check with whoever, the people who grant us the money to acquire the property, to see if it's possible to turn this over to...
I thought you were going to say swap, I'm sorry. I think when this was bought in the 90s, I think, actually it was supposed to be turned, it's mostly marsh, by the way,
Right.
It's mostly wet. It was supposed to be turned into a recreational area, and unfortunately it's landlocked by the refuge, so you can't even get to it. We looked at one time swapping it with them, and I was told it literally took an act of Congress to do that, to maybe get a little land that's good, and give them a few hundred acres. I talked to James Burnett about taking it over, I think, at one time.
Well, I was just going to say if we could check in I was going to say exchanging, or not exchanging it, giving it to the wildlife refuge so they can take over maintenance. Because everything around it's wildlife refuge. It's all marsh, and we're putting it in conservation. So taking the liability out of our hands and transferring it to theirs. If there's no objection from the board. They're just checking into that.
Staff will be happy to check into that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Did we not have to do ex parte on that one?
No, that was just getting the authority to advertise.
Okay.
And that concludes our planning and zoning items. Moving on to general business. Time is at 6 o'clock. Item 20, Mr. Edwards.
This agenda item requests board confirmation of the county administrator's appointment of Mr. Louis Cerner for the position of Director of Planning and Community Development. The vacant position was advertised on the county's website, the Wakulla News, Tallahassee Democrat, and the Florida Association of Counties website, as well as the American Planning Association website. We had a total of 45 applicants to apply. The top-ranked applicant, to emerge from the recruitment process is Mr. Louis Cerner of Tallahassee. His resume is on the agenda. This selection was made by a committee that included myself, Tim Barden, Donnie Sparkman, our property appraiser, Alan Wise from Preble Rish, John Sewell of Kimberly Horn, and Associates. Based upon the committee's unanimous recommendation and his positive reference checks by our human resources staff, we extended an offer to Mr. Cerner on December 22nd. He accepted that offer, and he, with board's confirmation, will start on January the 24th.
I move to confirm Mr. Cerner as the Director of Planning and Community Development.
Second.
Any further discussion from the board?
I just want to say I've known Louis for years, back when I worked for Edwin Brown in development in the 90s, late 90s, and he didn't know me from Adam, and was very, very helpful when I walked in to try to get something done, and that's the kind of thing I really like.
Well, he's got wonderful experience with local governments. He also is very much of an advocate for sustainable, for smart growth and sustainable communities. So I think he will, especially as we move forward with the Crawfordville Town Plan, I think he will be an asset. He's LEED certified, so I hope he'll get involved with the Energy Committee and help with energy efficiency also.
Any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you. Item 21. Request board approval to participate with the fact regarding the BP oil spill. Mr. Barden.
I'm sorry.
I can do it. Good evening, Commissioners. This is request board approval of the Gulf Coast County Coalition Memorandum of Agreement proposed by the Florida Association of Counties, FACT. As you know, we've been working with FACT and the 7 other counties to try to bring BP oil money to Wakulla County for the oil spill that happened last year. This memorandum of agreement is for FACT to continue to coordinate that effort. They're asking the county for $2,500 to continue coordinating efforts to meet with legislators, local, state, and national, to set up meetings to organize all the events and meetings that, obviously occur when trying to bring a large sum of money to Wakulla County. Excuse me. I think I'm catching what the administrator has.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the Gulf Coast County Coalition Memorandum of Agreement proposed by the Florida Association of Counties. I talked to David about this. I know it's spending money. I think it's a wise investment, though, to be in. Those of us that heard Senator Nelson today, apparently there's going to be a pretty big settlement with BP, and I think Alan has been appointed as our advocate for this, and I think it's a good investment. And the money, I guess, will come out of reserve.
That's right.
We do option 2 as well, then, part of your motion.
And our option 2, which is approved budget amendment for additional fees that come out from the county reserve, which luckily we're not flat broke.
That's right.
Anymore, so we can do things like this.
Second.
Any further discussion from the board?
I would only encourage, I don't know if FAC is going to be setting up hotels, but I know from attending their certification courses and conferences that that you can usually find less expensive accommodations. And I would encourage you, even though we're budgeting travel money, that you try to find, that you be frugal with those. I also volunteer. If you let me know the dates, I am frequently traveling to Panama City and Pensacola for swim competitions, and if it's a matter of spending one extra night for a Friday or Monday meeting or whatever, I could do it for basically no travel expenses. So,
okay. David, you'll be going too, is that correct?
On some of those, yes.
I was going to suggest y'all share a single.
Right.
I was going to do that too. They can share a room.
One bed.
Yeah. Get a full instead of just
share a room.
All right, any further discussion?
Yeah, we did.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Agenda item number 15, request board approval of proposed traffic flow pattern at Tafflinger and Raywinkle Roads. Alan Wise from Preble Rish.
Good evening and Happy New Year. We learned a lesson on 367 and 367A, and that's anytime we're changing the traffic patterns we'd like to make sure that the board is aware of it, make sure they understand the justification for our recommendations, and also give you the opportunity to hear from your constituents and either approve or deny it. This situation is at the corner of Tafflinger and Raywinkle. As you guys are aware, we're designing the widening and resurfacing project. We're receiving bids on this this Friday. My recommendation is to change the traffic flow pattern at Tafflinger and Raywinkle. Right now, Raywinkle has full access. In other words, it's the through street, and Tafflinger is a stop condition. I don't think this issue is new to any of you, but through the course of the design of this project, we've got survey, we've got detailed studies of the existing geometry of those roadways, and we are recommending to create a stop condition on the northbound lane of Raywinkle as it meets the intersection of Raywinkle Road and Tafflinger. So Raywinkle and Tafflinger running east-west would have full access. Northbound on Raywinkle would be a stop condition. If you have any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them. I know that we've had a couple of requests looking at turn lanes and things like that. One of the biggest issues we have in this area is very, very limited right-of-way. So we're dealing with a 45-foot right-of-way, and whenever we're done with this, then we're going to have a 38-foot paved surface.
Anybody that wants to see this in real life, Thornwood and Lonnie Raker, this is the exact configuration it has. That would pave Lonnie Raker and Thornwood, same issue. A lot of the traffic turns, but really Lonnie Raker goes straight through, and I live on a corner like this. There haven't been any accidents that I know of, and it seems to work really good. This is my 2 cents. But if you want to see what it's going to look like, Lonnie Raker and Thornwood is the same configuration.
Are you also addressing any concerns with Alexander and Raywinkle?
Yes, Alexander and Raywinkle, we are, of course, proposing to widen the travel lanes by 2 feet on each side, plus 4-foot paved shoulders on each side. So as buses, I think, has been the main concern at that intersection. As they turn out and head south on Raywinkle, they'll have a lot more asphalt, as well as we're increasing the radiuses in that intersection, and all new signage.
There's no issue with stormwater, right? As wide as we're going with this, swales are still okay?
That's correct. We've got roadside swales. We're replacing the cross drains as well. There's 13 cross drains on this project. Almost every single one of them are rusted out, so we're pulling them out and replacing them with concrete. That will be a much better product for the county.
When we met to talk about this, I asked you to look at whether there was anything that could be done to help with the flooding on their 2 properties.
And those 2 properties, they are in the low. Everything around them is higher than them. Long and the short of it is no, there's not a whole lot we can do. If the county wanted to move forward with looking at some alleviation, it would be purchasing private property, constructing like ponds, basically relocating residents. It would be a much more involved process than what this project can allow for.
Okay, thank you for looking at it.
Plans.
Second. I just thanked him for looking at that.
Proposed plans, track patches, and Taplinger and Raywinkle Road.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any citizens? Any additional discussion?
One more thing I'd like to just add. I don't want to do it tonight, but in the future, once we have done this, and accomplished this project, is we need to come back as a board and consider renaming that portion of Raywinkle from Martin Luther King to Taplinger, because that all needs to be Taplinger. It doesn't make any sense that we're going to change this to this configuration and leave that as Raywinkle, turn on, stop and make a turn on the Raywinkle. It needs to be Taplinger straight through. It would only impact a few citizens. I think one person lives on that road now. The rest of them live on adjacent roads to that, but it needs to change.
Should that be done as part of this?
But it could be, but you probably have to advertise.
Actually, we need to
leave it alone.
We need to finish this project, and then if the board desires to make any changes, then after this project is complete, would be an appropriate time to review that.
Okay.
Thanks for raising that concern.
Okay, but I'll bring that back at the appropriate time and we'll fix that.
Any additional comments from the board? On this Raywinkle item? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank y'all. It passes unanimously. Moving on to commissioner agenda items. First one up is from myself. It is our commissioner appointments. Went through with the requests were from each of the commissioners, and I've tried to recognize those as much as possible.
Did you leave everybody on the same committees?
I believe I did leave everybody on the same. I don't think there were any changes.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve it since you can't make a motion this year.
Second.
Jessica, were there any major changes of people from last year to this year? Were any changes?
Yeah, there were some changes.
We did. Yeah, there were a couple. For instance, I believe we appointed Commissioner Arts to the Wakulla State Forest instead of I used to serve in that capacity.
Appointed any more committees?
Commissioner Moore is replacing me on the Big Bend Scenic Byway.
Commissioner Moore requested to be on the Big Bend Scenic Byway, and Commissioner Arts did not.
I did so.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. I'm sure this is not an easy thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't see anybody else's preferences, so I don't know how well things are matched. But in terms of just counting assignments, and I'm not counting alternates because I've never been called to be an alternate for anything. So, okay, the person who has the most assignments is you with 6, and that's in addition to being chair and also being our BP person.
Mm-hmm.
So I question that. Then I have the next most, if you count, of 5, but one of these assignments is a defunct organization, so I had indicated to staff it should come off of here, which this is Congressman Boyd's District Healthcare Council no longer exists. Steve Sutherland hasn't continued it, so if we take that off, then I'm down to 4. So you're at 6, I'm at 4. Commissioner Merritt's at 4. Commissioner Stewart is at 3. And Commissioner Moore is at 1. So for okay, well then I didn't count that one correctly, and that you're right. That shouldn't be listed as an alternate. Okay, so anyway, I just it's difficult in this kind of setting to do rebalancing, but one suggestion I have is that if Commissioner Moore is willing to take disadvantaged transportation from me, that would give him 1 more and me 1 less. It only meets quarterly, and I think you would enjoy the group. And if he's, so I'd like to amend it to that. What? I'm okay. Yeah, you're okay. And this needs to be filled out regarding who the appointee is. So I don't know whether the chair or the Jessica or who does that, but now if you'd put Commissioner Moore on instead of me. And then I would just like to make one final request of our chairman. When I did my request, I had 4 categories. My top category had only 1 committee on it, and I didn't get that committee. And I know it's a committee you also like, but it's a committee that I've been on for probably 8 years, and so it's difficult for me not to participate in it given the length of my association with that group. Also, this is the Wakulla County Coalition for Youth. By being the board's point person for the community center, it's very difficult for me not to be able to attend those meetings because they've been an advisory group to the community center. The Healing Arts Task Force, or the Healing Arts of Wakulla, that I'm involved with, has the Coalition for Youth as its fiscal agent. As the chair of the Healthcare Task Force, I'm now no longer the liaison, I'm back to being chair. It seems an appropriate linkage since we do the sports physicals and so forth. So I know you've put yourself to have that for another year. It seems to me you have, since you have more appointments than others, I'm just asking if you would reconsider and put me on that one.
Sure, Commissioner Arts. We will make that change. I'll go as the alternate.
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
If you can keep me appraised of meetings you cannot attend. The Wakulla County Coalition for Youth does a lot of great things in the community, and I've enjoyed working with them.
They're a great group.
And it is probably the most fun committee that I was on.
Free lunch or something?
No, it's just doing things that are... Commissioner Arts and I share, both enjoy working to help advance, all of us do on our board, help advance our community's youth. Okay, we'll make the change. Any additional changes or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Next agenda item is from Commissioner Arts.
Yes, poor Tanya's been sitting here. The health department had received a grant 3 years ago for tobacco prevention that has funded many important tobacco prevention, smoking cessation, and secondhand smoke exposure reduction activities in our county. It also funds a position at the health department, which is Ms. Tanya Hobby's tobacco prevention specialist position, and that grant's back up for renewal. They're putting in an application that I hope will be funded. They've asked for a letter of support, so I move that we approve the letter and authorize the chairman to sign it on behalf of the board.
Second. Any discussion?
Tanya's doing great work.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Moving on to our county attorney item. Recommendations of Code Enforcement Board regarding code lien foreclosures and request approval for county attorney's office to review and proceed with foreclosures.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We haven't filed any foreclosures on code liens in a couple of years. Recently took a look and took this matter to Code Board, and we are requesting that this board authorize us to conduct some background research, including title searches on each of the code liens that are provided in your attachment number 1. And if there are sufficient property values to justify the action and there are not substantial first mortgages and other liens that would wipe out yours, we're requesting authority to go ahead and file foreclosure actions on these matters. It's about $38,000 that would be due the county.
I move to direct the county's attorney's office to proceed with conducting background research on each code lien listed in the attachment and proceed with foreclosures.
Second. Any additional discussion?
Heather, what are your costs going to be on these?
There are attorney's fees are recoverable as well from the foreclosure action. It's hourly, and it just depends on the amount of effort.
Right, we're not going to have to pay you.
No, they are recovered as well. They're in addition to the lien amount under statute.
But it's my understanding, and maybe you can repeat that often this encourages people to just pay.
Yeah, I mean, the end result of lien foreclosure is that you would own the property, but in my experience, I don't think we've ever taken an actual title to a property. Typically, the property owner steps forward and pays off the lien amount and the attorney's fees.
Any additional discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Before we move into county administrator items, we will have citizens to be heard. First citizen to be heard tonight, Miss Jenny Brock.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Jenny Brock. I live at 311 Old Magnolia Road. When you guys first started discussing all the good reasons for a mandatory garbage pickup, I was willing to sit back and keep my mouth shut. That's because you promised that it would help keep garbage out of the woods and off the roadsides. It didn't. So now I have some comments. I continue to see roadside trash, lots of it in fact. And now I pay approximately $200 a year to have my approximately 1 gallon per month of garbage picked up, because I do recycle and take things to be reused, so I don't have much garbage. Not to mention how ugly the garbage receptacles are. People don't seem to think it's necessary to take them in and out from the roadside after their pickup day. I've seen the baskets for recycling sit by the roadside for a week before they finally get picked up, and that's because I think I found out that one of the drivers just quit, and nobody knew how long to leave the recycling material out by the road until it rotted or whatever. Many of my friends and acquaintances in Tallahassee who have weekend houses here in the county feel the same way. They're about the ugliest receptacles we've ever seen, the bright blue lids sitting by the roadside forever. But, well, all of this, the $200 here and all those other fees that were imposed recently, do actually make a difference to all of us. We can notice that in our budgets, even though some of us may not cry over it as much as others. But I would like to see at least anti-litter enforcement. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Howard Kessler.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I'm speaking about open and accountable government, and that's absolutely necessary for any government to be a good government. And I have a concern, and that's why I'm here tonight. The citizens need easy access to address and discuss the government issues. And you as a board have a responsibility of what you're allowing to be placed on the consent agenda, not just for this evening, but for all evenings. When you place an item on the consent agenda, you take away or severely limit the citizens' ability to speak and participate in their government. Unless that item is pulled, like one was tonight, the citizens have no opportunity to speak before a vote is taken. In essence, what you're saying to the citizens when you put an item on the consent agenda is, this is something that you don't have to be involved with. This is routine and it's customary. And if it is routine and customary, that's fine. But I often find items on the consent agenda that are not routine and customary. Tonight, you yourselves pulled an item and discussed it because clarification was needed. I wasn't even going to speak to that one, but that's a good example. You had a discussion. Citizens who may have wanted to participate in that discussion may have thought there's no opportunity because it's on the consent agenda. So I urge you to really participate yourselves in how that consent agenda is being made up. And the citizens who, they're working, they have enough on their plate as it is in these, especially in these rough economic times. When an item is workshopped, they may not be able to go to that early workshop, but they may be able to come to the consent agenda. And when you put something on the consent agenda and say, we're ratifying what took place at a workshop, you've totally eliminated that person's ability to participate. So that's the point that I speak to tonight. Citizens really should not be having to ask for these items to be pulled that are not routine and customary. They don't have to be controversial, but certainly a lot of these items are not routine and customary. And I ask for your participation in helping an easier access for the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hugh Taylor?
Thank you, Commissioners. Hugh Taylor, I live on 1357 Martin Luther King Road. On the 3rd of October, you all had an agenda item to name the Wakulla County Sheriff's Office building. The motion carried 4-1. Here's the video. I gave it to Jessica earlier. And it's not what
Is that what you're saying? Just a plaque on the building? Okay, that's like we did with Miss Townsend. Okay. Okay. All right, that's like Miss Townsend. Okay. Any other discussion? On the motion? Aye. Opposed? Aye. Motion carries 4-1.
This is a straightforward vote, a straightforward order of the commission. It was discussed in depth in consultation with the Sheriff's Department representative at the meeting and voted on. It was to be a plaque on the wall of the administration building. It's not what you got. My wife was dismayed when she saw it in the paper because of the wall that was presented, which was the ignoring of your order, and she wrote a letter to the paper. Her letter was answered by Sheriff Crum, who took full responsibility for ignoring the order. The statute relative to a sheriff's responsibilities to his board says that the sheriff shall execute all orders of the boards of county commissioners of their counties. It seems to me that the sheriff violated your order. There's a quantitative difference between what was directed by you all and what was done. All the documentation is in the packets that I'm presenting to you tonight. Regardless of feelings either way, that's why we have a board to vote on orders to be complied with. And I think Sheriff Crum, contrary to the statute, violated yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Next citizen to be heard is Ron Pisaki.
Yes, Ron Pisaki. I'm sitting over here in the medical ward. I think David's infected everybody over there.
Thank you, Ron.
I'm here tonight as chairman of the Hydrogeology Consortium, and also another part of it that we set up, the Wakulla Springs Alliance. I've given the commissioners a copy of documents we have just submitted to the governor and to Secretary Vineyard. And this concerns a local request of Wakulla County divers that they would like to open up Wakulla Spring to cave diving. Here's a map up there that I've given, and I'll give this to the county, and you could put it in the library or wherever, which shows the cave system. First of all, our group is not against diving. As that chart shows, we're partners with the WKPP Scientific Diving Group, who have set world records for diving, but also been invaluable in research and assisting us in doing research since 2002. Part of this research convinced the city of Tallahassee that they were causing a nitrate issue into the springs, and that they spent $200 million to fix. As you're seeing in the pictures that are handed out, or in this large drawing here, there are artifacts in this cave system that go back thousands and thousands of years. Also, besides some of these artifacts, are strategically placed scientific equipment that the scientists are using for water quality, water quantity issues, measuring flows and salinity levels and everything else. We do not see how allowing unsupervised meaning from the park, recreational or cave divers into the caves there would give us the level of protection we need to protect the artifacts and ensure that the thousands of dollars worth of scientific equipment is not destroyed. Currently, under Wakulla Springs management, are 3 sinks that are available for cave diving: Cherokee Sink, Clear Cut Sink, an emerald sink. The divers themselves have raised money at Emerald Sink to build steps to go into the sink so that they don't destroy the cave walls as they're going down. The other 2 sinks are hardly used at all. Like I say, all 3 are available. Cherokee's available for training. All 3 have access into the cave system. So if there is an interest in furthering diving, which we support as a recreational activity, as a drawing point to bring people in Wakulla County, we're all for it, as long as they stay in those 3 sinks. But please don't use Wakulla Springs. And I urge, there'll be a meeting January 19th at the Extension Center. DEP is holding a public hearing, and I urge everybody to come, and I urge everybody to write letters to Secretary Vineyard and the Governor if you oppose it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Cindy Hightower?
Good afternoon. I'm here because of, are you Mr. Brock?
I am. You might want to speak to the mic if you don't mind.
Okay. Mr. Hammonds, I think, sent everybody an email about the roads for Summerwood. Okay. Very hard situation I have here. As a result of homeowners not complying with the Homeowners Association back in the 90s, I know for the last 8 years it's been back and forth, back and forth. The school buses will not come in to Summerwood. I have a unique situation. My daughter, mother of my grandchildren, which attend River Sink, was in an accident in 2008 with a traumatic brain injury. She is constant care 24 hours. Because of limitations on insurance, we don't have adequate nursing. She has a trach, just learning how to swallow. She cannot be left alone for me to go out to the highway to put the children on the bus. Last year, Judge Sauls ordered me a court order that Wakulla County school buses come in and get him there, which was down the lane. Which is fine. Miss Pat Jones was under the impression when she wrote this last letter that was expired. There is no expiration date on it until my grandson gets older or if the situation changes. As a result of her learning how to swallow the mother, she choked in November. EMS has to come in. You have to be there because she is learning, just learning. She has a trach, a feeding tube. She only moves her arms. I can't leave her unattended to put the child on the bus. Now, the roads are actually better as of this morning before this little bit of rain than they've been in a long time. Last year, I believe I put in $600 for dirt. The road was horrible coming in. I agree. It was horrible coming in. Big puddles of water. We did dirt. As a result of nobody doing what they are supposed to do, it's the homeowners, and the county can't come in and pave if they don't do this or that. As a result, fewer children are in there now, and the people that used to try to do with their tinker tractors, I call it, trying to do the best that they could, a few of them have pulled their children from River Sink, and I'm sure that that's all legal. I'm not here to get anybody in trouble. They remedied their situation. I don't have that option. I came here to care for my daughter and keep her children together until God brings her back to us. I cannot get to the highway. And the principal told me yesterday, I have to wait till a nurse comes. We got a grant. We do not want to be a burden to anyone, but we did receive a grant that we get some nursing. But those nurses come when they're available. 3 days a week, they come between 11:30 and 12. I get them for a few hours. I had to take my grandson to school between 11:30 and 12. He misses the curriculum all morning. He is an honor student, but that won't continue. And with the repeated tardiness, he will eventually have to repeat first grade. And, you know, I just feel it's unfair to him. And I'm being forced to make a decision, not because of the county. it's just a mess. It's a mess. Most of us want the road graded. Half of you don't want it done. But I'm in a unique situation here. I take a chance on going to the highway to put him on the bus, and she chokes to death.
Thank you, Ms. Hightower.
Thank you.
We appreciate that situation.
Court order. Do you need copies of it?
You might want
If you,
to this to the attorney.
Pardon?
Are you raising your hand, or are you just resting your hand?
I'm just resting it.
You got a broke wrist.
I don't know that we need a copy. You might want to, if you want to provide, do you have an extra copy?
No.
I don't think we need a copy right now.
Pat Jones one, and you know, it's a difficult situation. It's not anybody's fault.
Right.
But we've got to quit putting it off and do something, and then I need direction for my grandson. I don't know what to do.
And I know we're looking into it, and I know you've reached out to the school board, and they're looking into it, and
They told me to come here.
That's okay.
Right.
Well, thank you very much, and we'll be at the end of the meeting. We might discuss this more. I don't know.
Thank you. Thank you.
That concludes citizens to be heard.
It's nobody's fault. We just have to
Find a solution. Thank you. That concludes citizens to be heard. Moving into county administrator item. You have three.
If okay, I'd like to go ahead and move forward and we excuse me, kind of amend my area here. We met on the Budget and Finance Committee this month, as we're going to do monthly from here on out, and I've asked Greg James to please come forward and give us a presentation as to where we stand based upon our first quarter analysis. Greg?
Isn't going to be as boring as the auditors are, is it, Greg?
Is this the same as this?
Well, David, you didn't use the word presentation on the phone, so I don't know what
I had to get you over here.
I wouldn't have come if you used the word presentation.
You can be brief.
All right. I think David has met with each of you, and maybe four of you, and shared this document with you. It'll be a document that the Budget and Finance Committee uses to track our revenues and our expenses for this fiscal year. And we're just trying to look at making sure, of course, that the key funds that the county is responsible for, the general fund, the road fund, the sewer fund, the landfill fund, in those four were the areas of concern that the auditor a year ago met with you and here discussed the fund balance. So it's those four funds that we're keeping a close eye on. This document that you have in front of you has a forecasted profit and loss line about halfway down, and I'm going to add a word to it later and use this moving forward, unadjusted profit and loss, because as you'll see at the bottom, there are cyclical changes. Taxes come in one part of the year, don't come in part of the year, so we've adjusted for some of the cyclical issues, all the one-time payments that went out up front and such. The bottom line is that for each of those four funds, we're forecasting a small, or for two of them, they're small, three of them, excuse me, small profits at this point of the year. And that is if a couple of the revenues come in as they should, which we'll be keeping an eye on a monthly basis. The general fund, we're forecasting at this point we'll have an excess of $146,000 over our expenses, or our budget expenses. The road department, $63,000. The sewer fund, just under $1,000. That'll be the one that we're keeping a closest eye on. That may change. And then the landfill, with the changes you made to the revenue structure this year, a $52,000 profit.
Does this mean we're in the black, basically?
It means you're in the black at this time, yes. It's about as succinct as you can put it.
Good.
Any questions?
What do you see where we could be have problems? Where do you see that we could have a problem? What do you see that we don't see?
A year ago, all four of these funds were a problem. The steps you took last year in the general fund and the road fund, as long as those continue, those funds should be okay. You've taken steps in the landfill fund. It'll take time for it to crawl out of the hole that it made for itself, but it's on the right track. And you discussed it again tonight, and that's your sewer fund. That's your problem child.
I see that the ambulance fees are lagging behind. What does that mean?
Would you like to?
We're taking, part of that is due to the fact of the billing that they have to bill out to the insurance agencies as well as to the different agencies that we have to get the billing out there. There's going to be some natural lag, as well as we had a hiccup in our billing system, and we've already taken steps to take care of all that.
Would that be better called accrued revenue? Is that the same? That's basically what it is?
It's revenue.
Right, it's accrued
It's revenue that's not been collected yet, and as long as it comes in, it will be fine.
It was
Commissioner Moore, yes, we've got a big number there that we've got to overcome and uncollected, and we're in the process of taking care of that.
Okay, that's my question, because I knew that we had earlier a large number that was not being collected.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to get that money.
This week we've hammered on that pretty hard.
You have two issues. You have a billing issue, which David is referring to, and you still have a collection issue, right. And we don't know of a solution to that yet, other than changing who your collection agent is and those types of things we're discussing right now.
Previously, the left hand didn't know where the right hand was. You had numbers that we did, and we had numbers maybe that you didn't. Are we all on the same page now?
I hope so. I believe so.
I want us to be on the same page. I can't address what you do.
I'm not sure what you mean by one hand not knowing what the other hand's doing, because we've been in constant contact with the board and the OMB department. So, but we're meeting monthly now.
Last year there was some maybe misunderstanding, or we just didn't know where we were. I was getting, okay, let me just put it this way. I was getting one number, and then when I talked with you, I was getting another number.
From Commissioner Moore, from here out, you'll be getting a consensus between our office and the clerk's office. We're in sync, and we're talking on a weekly, if not daily basis. And the number that, if we present you with something, if I present, is run by Greg and vice versa.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, if I may, I want to applaud you guys for the work the four of y'all have done. This is an excellent tool for us, and if we can keep doing it like this, it's simple, it's easy to read, and it keeps us abreast of where we are with our finances, and I appreciate that effort, and I think this will go a long way to solving what Jerry's talking about.
Exactly.
Applications too, so I appreciate that.
And it's a lot of fine print. As these funds get resolved, they'll fall off the page, and hopefully they'll never be an issue again. So hopefully there's nothing on this page when we're done.
I was glad to see that we did adjust to ad valorem. Of course, it only makes sense you adjust because you collect more in the beginning.
Right. Correct. We had to have a mechanism to look at the entire year, each month, and that was you have to allocate based upon that to accurately look and judge each month.
Thank you. Your next item?
Our second item is the Sopchoppy River Bridge. I'd like to ask the board to approve ESG, to temporarily repair the bridge so that we can get traffic back open now. We've gotten our all the information from DOT from their inspection. There's no bridge official report from DOT. There's no damage to the bridge itself other than the railing naturally. We've Cleve and ESG has they're going to utilize some spare rail and put up a temporary rail system so that we can get it open back up again. Also, we're working with the insurance company of Mr. Pygott's to go ahead with a final repair, and they're going to also be reimbursing us for the repairs that we're doing, the temporary repairs we're doing now. But we'll be working with a company, probably the Cypher Creek River Bridge, folks that are doing the bridge there now to replace the railing. We'll be probably negotiating with those folks to try to get a price to get that done so that we can get the bridge fixed back permanently.
I move that we authorize ESG to move forward with temporarily opening the bridge.
Any additional discussion from the board?
Yeah, I guess I'm just kind of curious whether this should be coming forward as like an agenda item.
Well, we just got the report back from DOT, and now we're able to move as well as we finalize all the information with the insurance company.
It needs to get open.
Yeah.
And
right, but
I'm sorry. I wish we had done it before now.
Well, but what I mean, and maybe it's hard late in a meeting. Tell me what the cost is. Did you say that?
The cost is going to be reimbursed by the insurance company. Currently, the only cost that we've got, Cleve, and you can speak to this, is some temporary some pylons or metal poles. Excuse me.
We did not get the letter back from DOT stating that the bridge was structurally sound till yesterday afternoon. So we haven't really had any communication from Mr. Paggett's insurance company until this week. But right now, the temporary repairs are going to be done with a Schedule 40 steel pipe that can be attached to some weep holes in the bridge. And when DOT years ago pulled out of Sop Choppy, they left an abundance of the guardrails. There's over 800 feet of them there. So we're actually going to take these abandoned guardrails and bolt them to the steel pipe. So right now, the cost is going to be less than $1,000 to do the temporary repairs. Okay. And that's about as cheap as you can get to do this, because we're doing it in-house. We're doing it utilizing these old the guardrails have actually got bolts and attachment hardware that we can use, and so right now, all we've had to buy so far is just the structural steel pipe, and then the other cost, which is an ongoing cost, we've got signage and barricades up. We're keeping all those costs that we've accumulated since the day of the wreck, and we will be at the end we'll be billing the insurance company for that also.
When David was discussing, Heather and I and David met to discuss items. Personally, I think this is something that should never come before the board. He should have the authority to deal with stuff like this.
I agree.
This is why people don't like government a lot of times. It takes so long. He should be able to say, let's fix the bridge. I don't think it needs to come before the board.
I think we should have been out there the next day doing it.
We don't know more about bridge construction than DOT. I personally think he has the authority to just do it.
I agree.
I think we need to get more of that.
And I think he has that.
It's not spending an exorbitant amount of money.
But I think he has that authority.
I think he does too.
Because he can spend up to a certain amount, and in these cases, I want him to have but I want it because he's new, and I want him to have the comfort that the board can support these kind of emergent repairs. I mean, I drove down the other day and I couldn't get to where I have a place down there, and I had to drive around my elbow to get there. I can't imagine those folks who live down there. That's not my district, but I certainly feel sorry for them having the inconvenience of having to go around there.
I'm not. I know. It's not the. I'm not unsympathetic to the situation or needing to address it. It's just if we have to approve the expenditure of county funds, I want to know what the numbers are, and I want to have a chance to read it and think about it if possible, or at least to have a detailed enough presentation to make a decision at the time.
I think, again, I don't want to get off track here, but I think, what's his spending authority, Heather? $10,000? In my opinion, if he's not going over his spending authority, if we don't like what the man does, we'll fire him. I mean, that's it.
Right, but I didn't even hear till Cleve got up that it was under the spending authority.
I think that's what we have to trust him to do his job.
Tell us the money amount.
But I've been talking to David Edwards every day about this. He can tell you, including the weekends. Right. And he started hearing it because I've had citizens burning my phone up. Why won't y'all fix my bridge so we can get through to our house? So that's why I'm where I'm at with the thing. Why didn't we do something before now? Well, he waited because he wanted to make sure it was structurally sound, number one, which he had to, because it would have been foolish to have people travel on it if it was unsafe. But now that we have that, we need to go to work and fix it.
And the point of this is, as well, is all this money, and the biggest thing was what Commissioner Stewart was saying, was we had to get, you make sure the structure was sound. But secondly, the biggest thing was to make sure that we got the insurance company. We're in lockstep with the insurance company, so every dollar we spend, we're going to get reimbursed for it. And that's where it came in this week. All that fell in, and that's the reason you don't have a presentation, because every bit that we spend, we're going to get reimbursed.
And I agree with everything you just said. I just think things like this shouldn't have to come for us to be approved.
If it had been something I'd been asking, yes, it would have been a formal, everything formal. But this was, we need to move on it fast, and we don't exactly know what those costs are right now.
Okay.
And we'll be fully reimbursed with from those costs for those costs as well. So.
We have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Very good.
By the way, I visited with Mr. Pygott in the hospital, and even though that was a terrible accident, he's doing well. He looks well. He was hooked up to a lot of different things, but he still had his humor, and the day I saw him, he was very good. He didn't look like he had run off a bridge.
He's a lucky man.
And you have one last item.
Yes, I do.
One more thing before you go on. I drove over that bridge twice a day, every day when I was a kid, from kindergarten to 12th grade. It was pretty sound then.
Well, okay.
All right.
Last item.
This agenda item requests board approval of resolution that amends the department divisions and offices of the county administrator of the county. The proposed resolution amends an existing resolution to designate and set forth the departments, offices, and divisions of county government as indicated in the organizational chart. Excuse me, I just lost my place here. This reorganization supports responsible government as intended and is intended to maximize efficiency across county government. In summary, here's a couple of things that this organization chart does. It eliminates the Office of Management and Budget. It eliminates the Office of Public Safety, eliminates the Public Services, Public Safety, Office of Public Services, and the Office of Special Projects. It adds in the Public Information Office, reassigns EMS, Animal Control, and Emergency Management Coordination under Fire Rescue, and reassigns Code Enforcement and Facilities Management under the Building Department. These reassignments were made based upon just what made sense as far as how things were to flow and better management of the particular departments. In addition to the hiring freeze currently in effect, this item is also seeking approval to fill 2 vacant positions that were vacated by our which consists of the grants coordinator and the public information director. These 2 positions, one was Miss Virginia, when she left, and then we're reorganizing, and the other position that was vacated was actually Jennifer's position. But we're changing up that and making that a public information director. It should be noted that the public information director is an internal job opportunity, and therefore may cause another position to be vacant. So if we fill that position internally, that means that position may be, we'll have to fill that position as well. At this time, we do not anticipate this to affect to be anything but positive for our budget. We don't know until we've done our final hirings, but right now we're anticipating about a $10,000 to $15,000 a year savings, but we won't know that until we get our final negotiate all our final settlements with each person. The organization chart is you can see that on your back, and I've reviewed that with each one of you. Any questions or?
I make a motion to approve the proposed resolution setting forth the departments, offices, and divisions of the county government, and authorize the county administrator to fill the grants coordinator, public information director, and possible vacant position resulted in hiring of the public information director.
Second.
This is your first hoorah here, I guess.
First hoorah.
Let's see how it goes.
Any additional discussion from the board? All in favor?
Aye.
That's all. Moving into discussion items by commissioners. Commissioner Arts.
discuss items this evening?
Yes, I do, several. I'm sorry, I wasn't quite ready to go to that. Does somebody else want to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay, please.
Okay. Two things. I got this email about the grant. There's a grant. Apparently it's matching funds, but I talked to the woman, Elizabeth, I think. I would personally, I got this from the ARPC. That was there. This gives you like anywhere up to $30,000 in funding to do coastal access or something like that. She's going to check into it, us being a county of concern. But, I brought up the point about possibly building a walking trail or something on Matching Sands to get out to that point again. If you can't fix the road, maybe we can at least build something to get out there where people can fish and kayak and walk or whatever they're going to do. And I just wanted to bring this to y'all's attention. I talked to Cliff. Maybe if nothing else, we could construct it with impact fee money if we have some, and we get the grant to pay for the engineering and the permitting fees. Not using ad valorem taxes, but if it's something that can enhance our Parks and Rec, which I think it would, I'd at least maybe like to look into it. And I supported this today, but I just kind of wanted to, not going to spend any money, but maybe a blessing if this looks promising, at least bring it back to us and let us vote on it, if that's okay with y'all. Item number 2 is, I didn't even think about this, but the solid waste fee that we charge, $196, when Cheryl does taxes, it's actually reduced. And I understand why the property tax, you reduce them so people are encouraged to pay up front. I wasn't aware really that $196 would also be reduced. Maybe next year, because it causes a budget, not a shortfall, but about $80,000 in revenue we lose because of that. In my mind, that fee is to pay for garbage service, and maybe we could possibly look at keeping the discount for property taxes, but maybe not have a discount on that. And that's just next year. Just one. Can you even do that?
No, you can't.
All right, into that discussion.
And the 183, which was the per dwelling unit amount that was bid by Waste Pro, was already increased to the 196 to take account that 4%.
Everything I just said.
And we budget with anticipating that coming in at 5% less.
I guess I should ask you. I didn't talk to Cheryl.
But we do budget all of our budget at coming in 5% less to account for people paying early. Commissioner Stewart, do you have discussion items this evening? Commissioner Arts?
Yes, I wanted to hand that out to everybody. In early February, FAC is having its legislative days, and it's also having some commissioner certification course offerings. And this will be in Tallahassee, so it'll be convenient. And that one of their offerings is on ethics, public records, and sunshine laws. And the other is on growth management and land use decisions. And I went through both of these 2-3 years ago. And I would highly, especially the one on ethics, public records, and sunshine laws, I found very helpful. And again, I think there would be some fee that you would have to pay. I think they used to offer scholarships for people from small counties. Now, I don't know if you have to be working toward the certification or not to qualify for those, but it's worth exploring. I think either of these, but especially that first one, would be really valuable. And if you get a scholarship, you really won't even have to pay. So that was my first item. And you can attend the legislative day as well, but I just wanted to highlight these 2 workshops. And there's more information on the FAC website. And I think we have probably some more people from Summerwood who came. So I'd kind of maybe like a little bit of discussion about that.
Okay.
Because I know I've had a number of calls, and I've been trying to understand what all the issues are and what the solutions are. And I mean, there's there's the long-term solution, I think, of a local MSBU, and I know Brett Hammond has been working toward that. And I don't know if there's some ways that we can help to facilitate that. But then there's the short-term issues of trying to get the roads into the shape and get the school district to start sending the buses back down the road.
What we can do, Sarge, the school board, I mean, David, I guess, can call and talk to, I don't know who, Pat's gone now, right?
No, she's still there.
Pat's still there?
I talked to her about
Pat's
it.
the one to talk to. I mean, that's it.
I talked to her in length about it. And they're not going to send a bus down it because the roads are too bad.
Right, but I know I had asked Cleve if he could provide information about some people, businesses who might be willing to help grade or get the road into better shape that might be affordable for the neighborhood to do quickly, so that, you know, they would have to spend money, but they could get the roads to the point where maybe the school board would start running the buses again, and if we can move the MSBU along faster,
this is something we've been working on for at least before I was here. Brian Langston was in my position working on this, and I've been working on this for the last 3 years. Summerwood and Fallwood, mainly Summerwood, have this problem basically annually, where they're told the road isn't going to work and the school bus won't come down it any longer. They do a collection amongst the neighbors, and they go and make corrections to the road, and the school bus comes back. They're working towards that. Brett Hammond's been leading that effort and been leading the effort towards getting it paved.
We just had a workshop on this, didn't we, a couple months ago?
Not on Summerwood specifically, but
on private roads, I know it was, because we discussed neighborhoods. I don't want to go into a lengthy discussion about it, but the end that we came out with is if people would donate 60 foot or whatever the right of way was to the county would look at taking it over.
And that was going to be the issue I was going to raise next. One of the big challenges they're facing in Summerwood is the right of way, and currently the neighbors, the biggest challenge they're going to have to face, and it's going to have to be neighbor pressure, is getting that right of way turned over. Because even once we get the MSBU, it's getting right of way turned over to the county, so we can come in there and maintain the road and improve the road.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You don't have any legal right to go improve somebody else's private property unless they agree to dedicate.
How long does it take to get an MSBU? If we started today on an MSBU for that property?
They'd have to agree to it.
Well, you can't have an agreement until you start.
It's months, because there's advertising involved.
Well, then basically at some point we need to start, because that is not going to change.
It's not up to us, Jerry. It's up to the homeowners. They have to petition the county.
Very good.
There's a process to go through. Mr. Hammonds knows all this. And
all right.
And he's emailed
for years with these folks, and they've been on and off, and I want to see them be able to get this done, and I want to help them. But it's all driven by the homeowners.
It's in their ballpark.
Personally did it in Brook Forest, Jerry. I lived in a private neighborhood. You know, you've heard this before. We all got together and
Mr. Hammond's working on it. He's got he's been emailing. He's gotten some rough estimates of what he thinks it'll cost to go around to the neighbors. He's gotten the contact information for the people who own the property to reach out to them, try and get their signatures on the petition so that he can move forward. I've discussed with him having another meeting. I've met with the neighborhood. It's probably been 2 years since the last meeting I had with them, but having another meeting with them to talk about the process and what would it take and what would go on, and hopefully have a representative from our county attorney's office to come with us to help provide that extra information. They've been willing to do that in other neighborhoods, because there's 3 or 4 historic neighborhoods in my district alone, that are dirt roads that are privately maintained that are moving in this direction. Summerwood is the worst condition of them all, and you also have several families back there. There's not you have Ms. Hightower, who spoke today with her unique situation, but you have a couple other families back there who have also have other medical conditions even that make it where we need to have access and roads that we can get to them.
Well, I'm just asking, would trying to reestablish a homeowners association help, you think, or?
Just as difficult.
They won't pay.
Okay.
You can't you can't have payment voluntarily. It just doesn't work. The way I see where we are is we're waiting for you to get together to ask us to do an MSBU. It's pretty much that simple. you folks get together and get agreement between yourselves that you would like for us to help you establish an MSBU, and we'll do that. But we can't establish it over you. We got to establish it behind you, with you.
But I know one of the questions that I was asked is kind of what a ballpark for how much they might have to pay. Have we been able, each homeowner might have to pay. Have we been able to figure that out yet?
You think it's better addressed, not in discussion items, maybe?
Well, discussion items is probably appropriate.
Well, it's pretty complicated.
Well, yeah, it's one of those things that the way that the process works is, if I remember correctly, I'm going from memory at the moment, is you get 50% of the owner's petition signatures, and then we'll provide them with an estimate, and then you'll need 66% return the vote and to move forward. But we're not going to spend the money to prepare an official estimate from our end until 50% of the neighborhood says that.
Mr. Hammond already has a preliminary estimate.
Yeah, Mr. Hammond's
for a mile of road.
Mr. Hammond's has done research and had a contractor give him a number. We'll provide a number for what it would cost for us to do it.
But it might help them get that initial 50% if they had some ballpark figures. And the people I talked to didn't seem to have any idea of that.
If it's all right, can we ask one of these folks to come up and?
Well, Ms. Hightower, if you'll come to the microphone.
What I'd like to know, Ms. Hightower, is do any of y'all know what that? I mean, and the problem is that y'all have somebody's got to
be the initiator.
Yes.
We go from last year there were 2 meetings. I put in about $600 for dirt, right?
Okay, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about getting together to
well, you may get
petition the
3
county.
people, right? We're trying to get another meeting together. You may get 3 people.
Okay.
You might get 10 the next time. And it goes back and forth, back
Yes,
and
ma'am.
forth.
And we've done a number of these
4
roads in the
years.
county like this, and that is a pain, but somebody's got to take the bull by the horns in that area, that subdivision, that homeowner association, whatever y'all have, and just, you may have to do it by mail. You may have to do it by, somebody's got to go door to door and put a petition on the door. It's painful, but it's what you've got
Correct.
to do.
Mr. Hammonds has been working, and he a lot of times the people go up against him because his issue is let's pave it. Half of them don't want it paved because they don't want excess traffic in there, and we go from one extreme to the other.
Yes,
so you're back and forth. But if a school bus can't come in, first of all, I want to apologize for what I'm fixing to say, but I just have to be heard here. What a lot of the people feel like, well, if you can come and get our garbage, you can come and get our children. And then there's EMS. In November, my daughter, she choked. So I have to call EMS to come in and get her. So equally to the county for EMS, if you lived in a brick house before EMS, and there's a fire station there pretty close. If you lived in a brick house, your house is going to burn down before the fire department gets to you because you got somewhat of a little bit of a boulder because of a line rock. So you go around it this way and then you go around it that way, and it's constantly beat out. UPS comes to my house twice. That's a truck.
And you understand we can't tell the school bus to come.
Oh, honey, I know, but what?
We're not in charge of the school system. The school board.
Right. They tell us you go there, and then when we back them up, then it's back to this homeowner stuff. Somebody has to be forced.
I think they're telling you to come to us to find a solution to improve your road, not
we got
to get
it,
the school bus
and that is to try to get this portion done, but that's easier said than done.
I understand, ma'am. I went through it in my neighborhood. We did pave our roads. We paid for it out of our own pocket.
And that's what
it took a long
20 of us do.
It took a long time.
And my situation doesn't come around that often, so it's a choice. Do you let this child fail that is an honor student, a little child, and he is an honor student? Do you let him fail? Does he have to repeat first grade because I can't leave the mother because she may choke to get out there? I'm not from here. My neighbor to the left is an alcoholic. I pray for her daily. Abandoned property next door to me. The 2 families that can help me routed their children off to other schools. This young lady, she's a renter in Fallwood. She has 5, 9, a 5, 7, and 9, and a 13-year-old. And she's a lot further back than I am, and she has to work.
Ma'am, again, we don't control the school.
Okay. Okay.
Ma'am, if you're going to speak, would you come to the microphone, please?
And
introduce yourself when you come.
She says the school board's blaming us.
I want to hear that.
I haven't heard the school board blame us.
Hi, my name is Jamie Wilderman. I live in Fallwood. I've spoke with a few of you, and I've spoke with the school board. Every time it seems like you guys are telling me to go to the school board is telling me I need to be at you guys constantly, calling you, do whatever I have to get you guys to help us. I have 4 small children. It is 1.5 miles from the bus stop now. I cannot let my children walk. I thought we were a community. It seems like nobody, not you, not the school board, seems to care. You're just blaming each other. And we don't know what to do.
Next time somebody from the school board tells you to call us, tell me who that person is, okay?
Okay.
I really would like to know who that is.
I think basically, and the attorney can correct me if I'm wrong, is that as a government, we can't go up on private property and do work. I wish there was something I could do. If I had a tractor, I'd be over there tomorrow pulling dirt or something.
If you can get all your folks in your area to give us the 60-foot of right-of-way, we'll be there tomorrow to start doing the roads just like we do all the others.
That takes a while.
Well, I know, and the other part is the other option is to get it paved, and that's what this other gentleman's been working on. I mean, we're not trying to shove this off on anybody. I'm not blaming the school board. I'm just telling you that unfortunately you guys have got a mess out there, and y'all got to get together and we've come up with an option to fix it for you, and that's is the paving option,
right.
Or give us a 60-foot of right-of-way. If we can get either two of those, it'll get done.
There's nobody that can come in and just grade it for us.
Well, there's y'all and your neighborhood unofficial, and because there's no neighborhood association, it dissolved at the end of the 90s. So your neighborhood neighbors have gotten together and paid for that, but legally we can't do that. We could, the only way we could come in is if we used eminent domain, and we're not going to do that in your neighborhood.
I know it's no consolation, but you're not alone. There's a lot of neighborhoods.
600 miles. If we come, here's the ugly part of it, is if we come and do your road, then we got 600 miles of dirt road that everybody and their brother's going to line up here saying, what you did theirs, now we've set a precedence, and you got to come do ours. And that's the reality of it. And we can't.
Nobody's trying to be harsh or
no, I
you know, but if we have to treat everybody the same.
I understand.
You know, I mean,
and that's
very much sympathize.
And I know that don't help you any, but we want to help you, and we want, if y'all just get this petition together, we can expedite getting it paved. Now, like Randy talked about, we've done a number of these roads. We front the money and you pay us back. That's how it works. And
right.
if y'all can just get to that part, then that's going to be easier, I think, than giving the 60-foot of right-of-way. So we want to help.
It's financially, in my opinion, if y'all could just get everybody on the same page and give the right-of-way, you're giving up property that you don't really use anyway because it's the road, and then
right.
We'll talk about the county coming in and grading your road. And to me, that's the ultimate solution for y'all.
And how do I go about that exactly? I mean, getting all my neighbors together, but what does that call for you to grade the road? I'm not.
You would need to deed the property to Wakulla County that's in the road, 60 feet. And if you're like any other neighborhood, the property line goes right down the middle of the road. So this person would give 30 feet, and this person would give 30 feet. That's being used for road right now, by the way.
Probably wouldn't be more than where your mailboxes are, you know.
So we give you the road, you can grade it.
That's the positive, yes.
Yes, and as a process, yes, ma'am. And I've talked to the attorney about it. We'll even do we're even willing to do some of the work as far as the deeds, right? The deed.
And we have draft deeds. I mean, the commissioners are absolutely correct. The reason they can't go on that road is because we don't own the road.
Right. I know.
All the abutting homeowners own that road. So if we went out there and started grading it, technically we're trespassing.
And really fast, why can't we try to do another homeowners association?
I mean, you certainly can. You can consult with an attorney about that, but you have to get everyone to consent to that.
They don't need an official homeowner association to grade the road. You can go around Brook Forest. We didn't have one. We sent everybody a bill for $100 a year, and we paid Jimmy Welch, to come grade the road. once a year, and we paid somebody to mow the grass. But you got to have your neighbors vested in their own neighborhood. That's
that's what's been holding you up.
And my suggestion would be Brent is the person who has most of the information about the procedure. I would team up with Brent, find out who's already agreed, who's signed, who else needs to be approached, and go, I mean, as your time allows, go and talk one-on-one. Rather than trying to get people all to a meeting, just a couple of you go and talk and try to get that list to 50% of the owners. And then we can, that's what you need to bring to us.
Okay, let me give one caveat. Because of how I understand this road is owned, and I have not independently verified it, but I understand that each abutting property owner owns to the center line. The 50% is the threshold in the county's ordinance for initiating the process. You will have to get 100% of consent for us to improve that road, because everyone's going to have to say, yes, you can come on and alter my property.
I was told it was 66%.
That is a different threshold.
You have to have 66% of the people agree to pay, but the road that's going to be paved, everyone has to give that land over. 100%.
Yeah.
It's not even that simple.
Yeah.
But I think if
the 66% is if you're on a private road, you're going to pay to pave it, and you're going to maintain it when it's done. That's the 66%. As far as giving the property to the county, and you want the county to maintain it 100%, at least where, if you got somebody at the end of a dead-end street and they say, we don't want county on our street, fine, we won't go on the street. Don't give it to the county. We'll just go right past you. You understand what I'm saying?
Because you have different issues in your neighborhood. You have the main road, Summerwood Road, is the road that everyone wants to get paved. You have to have 100% of the people along that road give the land, or at least have somebody, like Brett Hammond owns land on that road. If he didn't want to give the 50% in the middle, the neighbor across the street didn't want to, he'd have to cut into his yard.
Right.
We don't want to go into that path.
Right.
I'm just talking about you have to have 60-foot of right-of-way.
But the thing is, if you start to get a growing group of people who are willing to do it, then I think other people will come on board. I mean,
let me say this to you. I talked to Pat Jones, and that's the transportation coordinator for the school board, and she said that this is a reoccurring issue every year, that they have to send you guys a letter, whoever she sends it to, and you guys address it by going and pooling your money together and getting it graded. The short-term fix for you, that's what you're going to have to do again right now, so that your kids can get picked up at the front door. That's all we can do. And that's...
Okay, all right.
But the challenge becomes, what I've seen happen is we'll get that short-term fix, and then this becomes less of a priority.
Yeah.
And then this letter comes back next year, and we get the phone calls. It can't. You have to do the short-term fix and still keep moving forward. Because we could. I think with 1 year we could have this process fixed if it just kept moving forward. We can't. But the process is going to take at least a few months, which isn't going to get ready right now, because we have to. There's advertisements in it also.
I understand that.
So I appreciate you.
How many people are in your neighborhood?
There's a lot. I was told by Brett Hammond at least over 30 homeowners.
So that's not a lot, 30. It may be a lot to get an agreement.
People, how hard it is for us to agree on one thing. Imagine getting 30
well,
people.
I do understand that, but 30 people, you can go...
Somebody's got to take the bull by the horn and just keep working it. And we'll work with you.
And get a signature on number one that they're willing to do that. And forget about paving the road. Try not to scare them about paving the road.
Get the county to grade it.
Just get an agreement that we can have 30 feet from the center of the road.
Right.
Once we can get the right of way, then I'm told that we can grade the road.
Right.
Okay.
That doesn't require any money, does it, Mike?
Well, it's work on our part, but it doesn't require any upfront money, no.
Yeah.
I can tell you from personal experience, it takes a highly motivated individual in that neighborhood to get this project. And that's every time we've had our neighborhood done, it's been one or two people in that neighborhood that spearhead it.
And you have 4 or 5 people in your neighborhood who I've spoken with over the years who I know are committed to this and willing to drive the effort forward. Your issue is going to be you have people who own land as investment and don't live there.
Right.
And that's going to be your issue.
Yeah.
That's actually the big issue.
Yeah,
So.
that is.
But not to beat this to death. But if I were you, I would try to get the people to give the land that's already being used for a road to the county and get the county to maintain it. That's your best bang for your buck. It doesn't cost them anything. They don't have to pay for a paved road. They just get a nice road. You know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
So,
That's
and if you,
about where them is bad. Yes, that's
and
good.
what we can do again is once and keep working with Brett. He's sort of taking the lead on this. As this continues to move forward, once we get everybody together, I'll be glad to come and talk about it more one-on-one, answer questions, go into the weeds with y'all, versus doing it here.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
That is your district.
It is my district. Yeah. Yeah. It's a road. Talking as Randy points out, all the roads he used to. My school bus used to go down that road, so I'm very well acquainted. Yeah. When I was a kid.
5 years ago.
Miss 5 years ago. Miss Hightower, are you good? Because Jerry. That's an issue for you. I mean, a court order has no influence over what we can do. But the school board, that's for you and the school board to work out, is my understanding. That this is no one here from the school board.
He's a county attorney, not the school board attorney. There's two different entities, separate.
So and that's when they blame us. It makes. Yeah. So, but as they point out, when someone tells you to call us and says it's our fault, have them call Randy. Please.
And get their name.
All right. Thank you very much on that issue. Jerry Moore had something to say. I was transitioning to you.
I had something to say an hour ago, so I'll get with it. I'd like to ask Mr. Pisecki a question. If the divers can the divers access the cave system of Wakulla Springs through the other two springs that you're talking about?
Safely, I don't know.
That's another question.
They don't
At Emerald Sink, to get down to the aquifer, and that's what you're talking about, the whole cave system, and it's not just Wakulla Springs cave system.
But what they want to do is to go through the cave system. That's right.
Get into the cave system, it's 80 feet down. Versus if you go to Wakulla Springs, you get on 120 feet before you get to the entrance of the aquifer, and then it's a straight shot down another 180 feet. So to get to the main part of the aquifer there, you're 300 feet versus 80 feet over at Emerald Sink. And I've been told that right next to getting down at Emerald Sink is a gigantic cavern. So they could do open cavern cave diving right there.
You ever swim down there?
But I guess that didn't do my question exactly. Can they go from Emerald Sink, I guess, over to the Wakulla Springs through the cave system?
Yes, they could.
So they can get there.
Now, I would hope they wouldn't come all the way over because that's where all the artifacts and the thing. But when they set the world record for diving, they went 7 miles. They went in Leon County at one sink, and they arrived at Wakulla Springs.
So they can access, I just keep going back, they can access the cave system throughout from Emerald Springs.
Emerald Sink, right.
Okay, good.
And Cherokee and Clear Cut.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Moore, you have additional information?
Yes. Just a couple of things that I want to get off my chest here, that we just had an issue on extended stay motel down in Panacea. I want to tell the board that at any time that we should have someone bring to us a hotel with the words extended stay, we should probably vote against that, because I've been in communities that had extended stay, and they wind up with a family with 10 kids living in one room, sending their kids to school. I can take you to where that's happening day in and day out on extended stay. It's just, I know that in Atlanta that a lot of the extended stays are basically, they're refuge homes, and I understand that, but they have a lot of crime. They have their homes for people who can't afford anything else. So be careful of extended stays. And from the standpoint of the engineers and everything that I have any say, when the next time I hear about 1,000 square foot size home, I'm going to vote no on it. 1,000 square foot is the size of a double garage. a single garage is about 500 feet. A double garage is about 500. 1,000 square foot is like 2 double garages. That's a very, very, very small home. I didn't say anything. I asked them the question what their minimum require was. They basically dumped a small size on us. 10 acres, I love the 10 acres and whatever, but they used a very minimum on the size of their homes in this process we did tonight. But I will never vote for anybody bringing 1,000 square foot home for my vote. I will not vote for that going forward. I let it pass tonight, but
I don't see that I could sell a house that small.
Oh, you can sell a lot of them. That's why they did that to us.
And I agree with you, but I think in this case on 10-acre lots, financially that wouldn't be very smart to build a
They just want to dump it over on us. With all due respect, we were whatever. It's what it is. But
Jerry, I wish you had raised that point at the voting time. I mean,
well, they're on 10 acres. They're.
I mean, that's when you need to raise a flag and jump up and down and say, "Wait, guys."
It is homes only, and it's not like I said, they're on 10 acres. They're not.
That's right. I can trade off. There's trade-offs on everything. I have a couple. Two more. Okay. I don't like personally. I don't like duplexes, and I don't like townhomes. And why do I not like duplexes and townhomes? It's what I call an apple in a barrel. You get you build the townhomes and the duplexes there, and they're jam up on each other. Let's just say my mother moves into the center unit, and let's say Joe Brown moves into the next unit, and he jacks his car up, turns on his music, and has all his friends over, and they have a party, and they can do that in townhomes because they own them, and you can't do anything about them jacking their cars up. Well, you got a homeowners association, whatever. My mother will move because of the noise and the whatever. The next person that moves into that is going to be like the guy who jacked his car up, and what happens is the good people will move, and the people who are like the people who are jacking their car up and so forth, it becomes not a good. Apartments are not bad, because if I own the apartments and Joe jacks his car up, I say, Joe, you got to leave, so I can clear it up. But if it's owned by individuals, they can do what they want. So that's my 2 bits.
Where was the apple in the bear?
Well, it's a rotten apple syndrome.
I got you.
You get a rotten apple in the center of that.
You have one more item?
No, that's it.
Motion to adjourn.
Wait, we have 2 more things. I just want to let you know, it was mentioned tonight talking about the sheriff's sign. We're bringing that back as an agenda item next week at our next meeting. And Mr. Edwards had a comment.
Yes, I'd like to recognize Mr. Tracy Bensley. He's the new general manager for Talcott Electric and Water. And I met with him earlier this week and yesterday. And I welcome him, and thank you for coming, Tracy.
Good perseverance.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Not sure why you'd listen to all this, but appreciate you being here.
I heard a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all very much. Have a pleasant evening.
The apple.
Apple in the barrel.